Hi everyone and welcome to Life with Plants. This video is all about a potting mix you can use for your aroid plants and epiphytes. So I have broken down this video into two parts. In the first part, I will share with you the characteristics of a good aroid mix. In the second part, I'll give you a breakdown of the 5 substrates I use and the rationale behind each ingredient. Through this explanation, you will understand the function of each of the substrates so that you can better customize your soil mixture to suit your individual plant's needs. And that will be more useful to you than me simply telling you the ingredients and ratio I use right from the start. Before we jump in, I'd like to mention that I use this soil mixture for some of my plants, just to name a few: my aglaonemas, peperomias, ficuses, and alocasias. So what makes a good aroid mix? The most essential part would be that it is able to give the plant roots an equal access to both air and water. Typically, when you water this soil mixture, it is well draining. It will be able to keep the soil moist and not soggy, and it has sufficient air spaces to allow oxygen to reach the roots. In the same way we need to breathe, so does our plant roots. So having a good aroid mix helps to prevent unnecessary fungus growth, as well as root rot, which we know is a plant killer. Let's dive into the 5 substrates that I use, and I highly encourage you to do your own aroid mix and to experiment with different ratios. The first ingredient we have here are cocoa chips. These are cubes cut out from coconut husk. They are organic material and highly sustainable to the environment. These chunky bits give your soil mixture its shape. They also help to improve aeration and drainage. The wonderful property of cocoa chips is that when they are watered, they do absorb water like a sponge, but at the same time leave air spaces in them. What this means is that for your plant roots that's in contact with this material, they would have an access to a balance of both water and oxygen. If you are unable to get your hands on cocoa chip, the possible alternative to use is orchid bark. And the second ingredient we have here are burnt rice hulls. They are organic material that are rich in silica and potassium, which is nutrients to your plants. They are also carbonized material. What that means is they have antifungal properties that are effective in preventing root rot. And because of this special property, I do use them in most of my potting mixtures. This material also helps to improve drainage and aeration. One more special feature about them is that they are able to absorb water readily and release them very fast. If you are not able to get your hands on burnt rice hull, a possible alternative is to use small charcoal chips. The third ingredient we have here is pumice. These are non-organic material. They are volcanic rocks that originated from lava that has cooled on the surface of the earth. Pumice gives your soil mixture its shape. It helps to improve aeration and drainage. They are also porous in nature, so what that means is that when they are watered, they do provide that good balance of water retention and air spaces. And as we know that they are non-organic material, they do not host any fungus or pests. I understand that in some areas of the world, this material might be very expensive, so a possible substitute would be to use perlite. The fourth material we have here are worm castings. These are organic materials that are essentially worm poop. They contain a lot of beneficial bacteria and microbes that will enable your plant to grow well and thrive. They also function as a soft fertilizer, cause unlike chemical fertilizer, worm castings will not cause fertilizer burn in your plants. They are also neutral in pH level, and they help to improve the water retention in your soil mixture. So if you do want to increase the water retention in your soil mixture, you can consider adding more worm castings. These materials are usually readily available around the world, but if you do have trouble getting some, a possible substitute would be to use organic compost. The fifth ingredient we have here is cocoa peat. So similar to cocoa chips, they come from coconut husks. If you take coconut husk and you break it into smaller pieces, this is the material you're going to get. Cocoa peat is usually added to the soil mixture when you want to improve water retention. However, do note that unlike worm castings, cocoa peat is void of any nutrients. So if you're not able to get cocoa peat, A possible substitute for it will be to use peat moss. And there you have it everyone, these are the 5 substrates that I use in my Aroid potting mix. Mix them well before potting them. Do note that if you intend to keep them in a box over a long period of time, the smaller materials tend to sink to the bottom. So when you're going to reuse them, mix them well before placing them into your pot. In terms of ratio, remember that there is no fixed ratio, it is all dependent on what your plant needs. But as a general guide, pumice and cocoa chips will take the bulk of the ratio to form the shape of your soil mix, and everything else will fill in the gaps. So here's my ratio as a guide. 30% coconut chips, 30% pumice, 20% burnt rice husk, 10% worm castings, and 10% coconut peat. And a very big thank you to everyone here who has stayed to the end. As you know, there are many Aroid potting mixtures and formulas out there. My advice to you is to experiment and find out what works best for you. I hope this video was useful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. If you do find videos like this useful to you, please help to support the channel by smashing that like and subscribe button.